There is no reason why people say maybe we'll survive up to 2027, maybe he will get himself back in again. This maybe must come to an end. There is nothing else the Kenyans are waiting for except to have William Ruto resign. As I said before, this is something that has been done throughout history, and it is within the four corners of our constitutional architecture. The Constitution of Kenya 2010, Article 1, vests ultimate authority on the people of Kenya. We can recall William Ruto, and we should, by demonstrating to him in large numbers, peacefully, that we no longer want him as a head of state and head of government. People forget the British went to the polls just 2 days ago, the fourth election in 5 years. Every time the British express disaffection or lack of confidence in their government, they hold elections. And it doesn't matter whether the other government was just elected 1 year ago or 6 months ago, they will hold another election. And the prime minister resigned, and we have a new prime minister. You don't have to wait for 5 years to recall anyone. The Constitution of Kenya does not say that. It does not give anybody tenure for 5 years. You have a right to exercise your sovereignty under Article 1 by telling Ruto that you no longer have confidence in him, that you no longer trust him, that you no longer believe that anything he says or does is in your best interest, and you recall him. It's done all the time in South Africa. They recall their presidents within the party. And here we have it within the constitution to do so. Now, regarding the issue of conflict of interest, I believe the law is already there. The penal code has provisions regarding fraud, regarding theft, regarding misappropriation, regarding acts that are not legal, that are used by people in power or in positions of influence or in public office to acquire wealth that they otherwise are not entitled to have. The
Can you hear me?
Constitution, chapter 6, the integrity provisions already provide for that. There is ethics and uh, anti-corruption legislation that created the EACC that also provides for issues to do with conflict of interest. There are politicians who have already been charged with conflict of breaching conflict of interest laws. We don't need new laws. Kenya, we have more than enough laws. All we lack are men and women of integrity that will enforce those laws. That's all we lack. So let's not get confused about laws and whatnot. You saw that when the legislation was taken to the Senate, people like Olekina watered down a legislation that had been taken there, notwithstanding the fact that I'm saying we don't need that legislation. But even the one that they just drafted, they made it completely useless. In other words, don't trust these legislators, don't trust these people holding power, no matter which party they belong to. They are all hyenas that want to eat the sheep, who are the Kenyan citizens, through their taxes. They want to bankrupt the country so that a weakened citizenry, a pauperized citizenry, cannot have a say and cannot bring them to account. Now,
Now,
regarding William
regarding
Ruto,
I've
uh,
please proceed. I've muted the person whose mic was on.
right, there is someone who said that William Ruto has given the country the middle finger. Why don't we work within our budget? I think we've already been through that and established that this is not a person. that can be brought, can bring himself within the requirements of the law is ungovernable. It does not respect the rule of law. It does not respect the constitution. That's why he appointed people that did not meet chapter 6 of the constitution into public office, because he doesn't care. So, as I said, we have a recourse under Article 1 of the Constitution, and that is what we have to do. We have to do it publicly, we have to do it peacefully, we have to do it in large numbers, we have to continue to demand that. We should not be waiting for 2027. If we do, William Ruto is going to reconstitute an IBC that looks exactly like the fake task force that he did yesterday to serve his personal interest. And then the IBC that he has reconstituted will be a rubber stamp to coronate him in 2027. We cannot actually betray the people who have died and allow him to do that. Now, Tabitha said, spoke about employment abroad and whatnot, and stated something that I agree with. The role of a government is to create jobs and environment for creating more jobs and opportunities and investments and business within Kenya, so that all Kenyans can work in Kenya and develop Kenya in Kenya. So this nonsense about exporting workers to wherever is just that nonsense. A country cannot spend millions of shillings educating each person, training them, only to take them out to go and work. So that's basically not just a brain drain, it's also a sabotage of your economy. Because how are you going to recoup the money that you have used to educate and train these people, only to ship them outside to go earn menial jobs and develop other people's economies? Now, the issue of Kingsman said about the Auditor General's report, whether we can tell the IMF and the World Bank that the debt that is outstanding is odious debt and that we are not going to pay. Exactly. This is precisely what we should do. We should not pay debt that was illegally obtained, that did not come to help the people and the country, and that we are repaying so that these people can become billionaires. By the way, it's big business. Senior executives within the IMF and World Bank and managers are in bed with our thieves, and they are just stealing. Nobody should tell you that IMF executives are not conspiring and are not looting Kenya and other countries so that they can come to, quote unquote, our rescue when we are already bankrupt. Most of the debt, and I agree with Jimmy Wanjigi on this, most of the so called debt were paid off many years ago. This so called debt that we are paying now is not a debt, is not a legitimate legal debt. These are illegal debts that we are encumbered with and that are used to basically bankrupt the country. These are mechanisms of theft, of looting, of plunder, of siphoning public resources outside Kenya. So, yes, we should say that Kenyans are no longer going to pay the odious debt, which is illegal debt that is not legitimate, money that was not brought to Kenya for development, and money uh, that should go towards development is being diverted to pay artificial, mythical things that we don't even know how to call. They should not even be called odious debt. They should be called fraudulent schemes, Ponzi schemes by the IMF, the World Bank, and our regime. Now, Felix um, uh, made a comment about, I think that one I've already addressed, about Ruto staying up to 2027. I don't think we should allow him to. And I don't think anybody should imagine that that would happen. We should continue with the revolution the way it is. Um, then I believe, was it Wanjoroge or somebody who said that we've already achieved what we fought for during the struggle for independence. Far from it. Wanjoroge, I would I would tell you that we did not get back our land. We did not get our independence. We had a flag and we have a national anthem, but beyond that, we don't have anything else. Our economy is still controlled largely by the Western interest, plus 1% of our oligarchs. But the citizens of Kenya do not have control over their economy. They don't have control over their politics. We do not have control over our culture anymore. We don't have control over our social affairs. We certainly don't have control over foreign affairs. We are dictated to by Washington and by London and Paris. So no, we don't have our country back. We never achieved any independence. So we should continue to struggle. Last thing I want to say, it is good that at least the leadership of the police have made announcements that they are not going to interfere with tomorrow's memorial concert, and that the gathering at Uhuru Park is not going to be interfered with. They are not going to load tear gas and they are not going to shoot anyone. Well, we hope that they are not going to hire criminals to interfere with the citizens, because when the citizens gather in large numbers there, I think the citizens should put it as a duty that if any of the thugs are unleashed on them, they should punish those thugs. They should not run away, because these thugs are not going to be more than 100, and they should be punished, and we can actually try them and punish them ourselves. I don't believe that people like Sakaja should be allowed to attend and address this rally. He was responsible for hiring thugs that injured a lot of people last week. And he's been one of the people that have stolen and looted public resources without accountability. He's responsible for the mess that we are in. Should be a peaceful, safe space for the movement, for citizens struggling against impunity. And we cannot allow perpetrators of impunity to invade this space and try to turn it into a platform for perpetuating impunity. Finally, um, I think there is a propaganda, probably brought in by the NIS, that is trying to create a sophisticated division. Our focus should be on the national government for now and the members of parliament that passed the punitive finance bill 2024. That way, we are not going to be diverted to the county governments. So let's forget about the Auditor General's report on the county governments for now, strategically. Let's focus our attention on Ruto and his regime and the members of parliament that passed this odious punitive finance bill 2024. Once we are over with them, then we can deal with the county governments and the others. Because if we don't do that, we would be scattered and we would be spread too thin, and we would turn even those governments that have been supporting us and giving us protection in the counties as our enemies. That's what they want. Focus on the national government, the Kenya Kwanza government. Let's bring it to its knees. Let's dissolve it, and then we can deal with other things later. That's my submission. I drop the mic.
Thank you so much, Daktari.
If somebody has something that they want to ask, I would answer it before I go. But I thank everybody. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to stay up to the end.
Okay.
No problem, Daktari. I think you can pick a few. Maybe you pick 4 or 5, and then you respond to that, and then we can let you go.
All right, I'll listen.
Architect. Who else? Who else? I think we
Okay,
can add a
Kingsman,
few.
I think only a person who has a question, because he's leaving actually now. He's just waiting for a question that he can answer before he leaves. Is there anyone in the panel who has a question for Dr. Miguna Miguna? Okay. Okay, architect, shoot the question and then he can wind up. Yes.
Hi, thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to speak. I'm from the Caribbean, very close to Haiti and what's happening in Haiti and so on. We know the whole history about Haiti. And when I saw Kenyan troops guarding the U.S. embassy in Haiti, I thought to myself, "Wow, that's interesting." But I have a question for the doctor. Um, uh, I know that in like so you have more experience than me. I know that in revolutions they have points of escalation, and I really think that Ruto should really go, because if he already done what he's done in a year and a half, can you imagine waiting for him in 2027 to leave? We can't allow that. So I wanted to ask the doctor, um, what kind of what else can we do, even those outside of Kenya, to escalate more and more legally? What can we do?
Thank you so much for that question. Dr. Ari, please close with that.
Oh, thank you very much, Maj. What can we do to escalate legally? I think I am more convinced than any other time that the only thing that we can and must continue to do is to protest. The frequency of the protest will be decided and determined by protesters who are on the streets and villages and towns and cities in Kenya. Um, if it was left to me, I would protest every day until Ruto goes. But I would wait to hear what other people will say today and hopefully tomorrow during the Saba Saba. I call upon all Kenyans who believe that they have power and they have rights um, to change the system, which is their system, and to take Ruto home to show up in large numbers tomorrow during the Saba Saba with one anthem: Ruto must go, which would symbolize the dissolution of his entire administration so that we can transform Kenya. I thank everybody. Viva